Okay, guys, welcome to the four-part series of what to do after you've had foundations for literacy in your life and you've been working through it. So we're going to start with organization. I've coached probably about 25 teachers over the last 3 years, and 4 topics always came up as the biggest questions they had, or upon viewing their different recordings. I would notice these things that needed some extra help. One being organization, which is what we're going to talk about today. The second one being read alouds. The third being data collection. And the fourth being how to tier up and tier down your lessons. So that way, especially if you're an itinerant teacher, it's not feasible to do an hour-long foundations lesson. So I took the time and went through each of the lessons and broke down the most important parts to make them into 30-minute time slots. Okay, so we can go next. Next slide. Okay, I entered this one for one of our PowerPoint slides so that you would have the public website, which is really good if you want to share it with other staff members, like even speech therapists or any kind of therapist that you're working with, including your administration. So if they have any questions about the curriculum, all the answers are there, all about the research and the history and the background. So then on the other side, we have the private website, and the private website is meant for you as teachers of the curriculum. It includes professional development videos, supplemental materials, and the forum. And I will say that there's videos of organization on that private website, which obviously I didn't embed into this PowerPoint because you've already seen it. If you've been through the training, you've seen the basic organizational videos that I showed. You can go back and look at those if you have time. The one that we're going to do today just goes a little bit deeper. Like now that you've been immersed with your materials, it kind of helps you, like now that you've actually like been drowning in them probably, how to get them a little bit better organized to suit your needs. Let's see. I will say this too. This past year, I'm looking at my notes, I went to a Wilson training, and I teach kids. I have a special ed group in the afternoons where I work, and they're 3rd grade resource, and I teach Wilson. So I went to a training in the summer, got totally, drowning in all of those materials, like even more materials in this curriculum. Like it is crazy. And after I started teaching it, it was almost like I needed the training more then than I did before I even started. So I actually went to a second training of the same thing. So that way I could, once I've had my fingers on the materials and I knew what I had problems looking for, that second training actually helped a lot. Okay. Next slide. Which it leads us to this. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so scared. I couldn't resist the Saved by the Bell reference here, because that's kind of what you feel like once you start first using the materials. You've been to the training, you've received the materials, you've attempted to get them organized so you can be a productive educator, but you feel like you're drowning. And as I was saying, this webinar is for you, because I'm going to give you tips and hints and field any questions that you have regarding organization of materials and organization of lessons today. And if you're too young and you don't know the reference to Saved by the Bell, just Google Jesse Spano. I'm so excited. We'll check on that next time. See who checked it out. Next slide. Okay, there's 4 main materials when you're looking at Foundations for Literacy. There's the teacher's manual, which I have over here. There's the big teacher's manual, and then there's the unit-specific materials, the frequently used materials, and the practice time materials. So when we're looking at these, the focus of today is going to be on the unit-specific materials. So that includes the frequently used materials, practice time materials, anything that's unit-specific. You're going to become best friends with Ziploc bags, rubber bands, and paper clips. Like they are your friends, so you need to use those. This is a very materials-heavy curriculum. It's a pro and a con, because the pro is that you don't have to do any Google searches. You don't have to take time out to find a picture, because we have provided you with over 1,000 vocab picture cards, which also leads to the con. You have over 1,000 vocab picture cards. So you're going to have to figure out a way to not lose your mind in them. So that's what I'm going to try and help you with today. Next slide. Managing Foundation for Literacy units. So we're going to go from big to small. So the biggest thing you should have is probably a box that contains different units. So the picture that I have on this slide is showing a pocket file. And I've got one here too. It's a pocket file and it has like the accordion style on the side because you have a lot of materials. So the best way to house your entire unit is going to be in a big accordion style pocket file. Because then these files can go into a big box. So that way I used to have my boxes labeled like units 1 through 8, units 9 through 16. And that way I could keep some of them up and out of the way or underneath a table in the room or a desk. So that way they're out of the way and I could just work within the one box at a time. So like I said, so you could use a file box or an empty copy paper box or a hanging file cabinet even for these two. Like if you happen to have a 3-drawer file cabinet at school, these will fit in there. So that would work. And I think if I remember right, I think all of the materials should fit into 2 file cabinets. Next slide. Okay, so once you've got your unit, so you're ready to go, you're say you're in unit 8, you pull the sucker out of your big box, then what? This is what you do. You're gonna manage your week because within your big pocket accordion style folder is everything you need for the week, but you need to separate it. And so this is where the planning comes into play. I put a picture in there of a hanging file folder organizer. And I have one of these at school and it's amazing. And especially if you have colored folders like hers, because what I say later in here, you're gonna need 7 files or drawers or file folders, however you decide to organize your week. You're gonna wanna separate your materials for each day. You're gonna use a hanging file folder box, magnetic hanging file organizer, or even a rolling plastic drawer organizer. You can get those at Target or Walmart. Those are great for having a drawer for each day. I used to have 4 days of lessons because the curriculum is set for like a Monday through Thursday style. So I'd have a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, drawer or folder. Then I keep an extra one for carryover. So that way anything that wasn't covered will go into my 5th day, my Friday. I also kept one for practice time materials and then another one for storybook time. So in all, you would need 7 files or drawers. Next slide. Managing the week. This is the bigger part. Turn my page. This is my big thing about saving time and brain power. So you're going to want to copy or print the lesson plan overview page. Let me find one of those real quick.
I don't know what you mean by...
Siri's trying to help me. Could probably use it. Okay. So this is the page I'm talking about. When I say the lesson plan overview page, it's one of these where it shows you what you're supposed to be doing each day and all the materials you're going to need and all the vocabulary cards. Copy this because what you're going to do is throughout the week, say you're on day 1 and there's a fire drill and you didn't get to one of the pieces. If you have it printed out, you can highlight that piece and then know that you need to hit that spot later on in the week. You could either do it the next day, depending on what the lesson is or the pieces that you weren't able to get to, or you could put it to Friday. Post-it notes, this is one big thing I used to use because once you have, so you've taken this unit, you've put it into all of your different file folders or drawers, and then say on day 1, you're using an item that you're going to have to use on day 3. Well, when I saw that, when I was playing it out, I would take a Post-it note, plop it on whatever that activity's materials were, and I'd write move to day 3. So that way, as I was going through and I finished day 1, I had that Post-it note from past Julie to tell future Julie to move that to day 3. So that way I didn't have to go looking for materials every single day. I knew that certain ones would need to get moved. And that way I was saving myself brain power and saving time by giving myself reminders. Next slide. Okay, this slide makes me crazy even just looking at it. So when you're talking about your main lesson materials and your practice time materials, this is everything you're talking about. And I didn't even have enough room on this slide to put everything separately. Like, it's a crazy amount of stuff. So if you're not trying to get organized or do things in a methodical manner, it's going to be hard. So again, that's why this is one of the biggest challenges. Next slide. Frequently used materials. This is your main lesson. So I'll go ahead and just read through. There's the activity cards. Those are the ones that tell you whether or not you're doing a rhyme or a song or you're doing the story. It's your main activity cards. Then you have your sequencing word cards, which are the first, next, then last. Your everyday vocabulary cards, your sequencing mats, your little sound cards and the little letter cards, primary and secondary keyword cards. And I will say I'd had some questions in the past about the difference between the primary and secondary keyword cards. The primary cards are the ones that are incorporated into your lesson. The secondary keyword cards are extras. So it has the same, it's working on the same skills, but with different words. So if you have a child that just catches on really fast to the first 1 or 2 words that you're working on, get out the supplemental secondary keyword cards. So that way you can work on new ones. Then you have the high frequency word cards, which are also known as like trick word cards. There's the initial sound picture cards, segmentation picture cards, make a word cards, syllable count cards, rhyming cards, and any class specific picture or name card that you're going to be using in any of the lessons. So what I did on this page, because again, this is just a crazy amount of materials. So what I did was I highlighted 2 of the sections in yellow. Anything that's in yellow, you would keep rubber banded in your day 1 folder or drawer or bin. Those are the ones that you're going to be using every single day. So with the activity cards and the sequence words cards and the sequencing mats, I would always have those rubber banded together and starting in day 1. And that way I knew that all of those items, because you use them every day, they go from a day 1 bin to my day 2 bin to my day 3 bin and so on. Then I highlighted some of the pieces in blue, most of the pieces. The blue ones are the ones that you want to keep in an index card box or even a shoe box for easy access. They're the ones that you're going to keep in alphabetical order, and you can divide them. If you're using a bigger box, you can even use index cards as dividers, which I'm going to show you an example of that in a minute. You don't want to go broke trying to get your stuff organized, and it's easy to spend a lot of money on this stuff. So any of the ones in blue, like the bigger cards, could fit in a shoebox. There's only one in pink, but it's 2 different parts. It's your sound cards and your letter cards. Those are the little tiny square cards. With those, and what I'm going to show you in a picture in just a second, there's some hanging jewelry organizers that I found at Five Below for $5. Amazing, like everything fits perfectly in it. Or you could use, I know I have some friends that like to put everything in a binder. So they bought, their sons have baseball cards, and they have the little baseball card organizers. They're like plastic pages that you put inside of a binder, and they fit all of those cards perfectly. So I'll show you some of those in a second. Go next slide.
We're going to pause it for a second and see if we can, there we go. Next
slide. Okay, so this is the slide I was talking about. On the left-hand side, there is a picture of the item that I bought at Five Below, and it's a jewelry organizer. It's a hanging one, which is nice because, as you can see, I have it hanging on a file cabinet handle for easy access. All of the sound and letter tile cards fit perfectly in each of those spots. And then down at the bottom left, I'd put my activity cards, my everyday vocabulary cards on the right. And then I think I'd put some of my sequencing word cards in the middle. So it's perfect for it. And then over on the right side is an idea I got from a friend who has a son with baseball cards. And she uses the 9 pocket pages in a binder. And she sorts all of her cards in there. So that way when she needs them, she just pulls out the paper and she's ready to go. So it's whatever suits your needs more. Next slide. This is an example of, I do the Wilson program right now. And I have a cheap little plastic bin that I'd found at the dollar store. I used Scotch tape that I got at Target. And I used the Scotch tape with Sharpie as labels. Because that way, if I wanted to change it around, I can literally just rip the Scotch tape off and redo it. On the right, it shows how I just use larger index cards. I got the large sized ones and a Sharpie, and that's how I made my dividers. So again, like you don't want to go broke trying to get organized. So I just want to give y'all some ideas as to how you could do it more cost effectively. Excuse me. Next slide. Okay, so frequently used materials practice time. Now, I used to keep practice time in its own separate bin. You're going to want to put the weekly materials in a designated folder or drawer And again, same thing, copy or print suggested order of activities page. So before I showed you, like when you're doing your lessons, you're going to want this. So that way, if there's something you didn't get to, or if the kids were having a really hard time understanding a concept, you can make a note on there. You can highlight it. It's the same type thing with the practice time. The next page in your manual has a suggested practice time schedule. And it's the same thing. You want to be able to make a note of like, what did you do on Monday? What did you do on Tuesday? Like if you didn't do, because the way that they did the schedule, they gave you a lot of options. So you could choose what best fit your daily schedule, but you want to make a note of it because you don't want for it to end up every day you're playing bingo. Repeated practice is necessary for mastery. And each of the different suggested activities helps to build the code-based skills they need for reading. So you're going to want to have a variety. And also, this is a great resource, the practice bin. If you're able to have their practice time materials in one folder or one bin, it's a great resource for days that you happen to have a substitute teacher. Whether you're sick or you're at a training, they can't do the program. It's too difficult. However, the practice time materials, because they're game-like, would be an easy substitute for them. Next slide. Which brings us to storybook time. Again, with storybook time, you're going to want some sort of folder or drawer to house it because you're going to have the book that you're reading. You're going to have vocabulary picture cards. You're going to have extension activity materials, which is something that you might be doing on Thursday or Friday, and then pre and post checklist. And one of our webinars we're going to do is going to be on assessing, collecting data and assessments. So we'll talk about that in depth later. And then the tips is to have the bookmark for question asking guidance. I had made all of the people that I coached storybook retell bookmarks, which I'm going to show you in a second. Those are housed on the USB drive. If you go to that, there's a section storybook time. And all you have to do is print out the storybook bookmark, fold it in half, maybe trim off the extra little bit, and then laminate it. And use it as a bookmark so that way, again, when you go back to saving brain power and saving time, you've got all your questions and all your tips and notes right there at hand. Like you don't have to take the time to think. It's right there, ready to help you. Again, this is also another great resource for a sub because, again, the sub can do the practice time games and they can read a book. So as long as you already have a book picked out and there's the vocabulary picture cards printed out, they'll have no problem carrying that over. And again, we're going to talk about storybook time in depth at a different time also. Next slide. This is an example when I talk about being prepared. This shows a picture on the left side. It's me choosing a book and then going through and making a list of all the vocabulary that I liked, and then going back and circling the ones I decided to use. And then any kind of, again, we're going to talk about this later. I've got the definitions after that. So then I knew which pictures I needed to go print. And I would use painter's tape because it's less damaging. I would use painter's tape on the back of those pictures I printed and have them ready to go on the back of my book. So that way, when I got to one of the words in the book, I could just flip it, stick it down, take it off, put it down, and I didn't have to go looking for anything, and I didn't lose them. Next slide. This is my Storytime bookmark. So again, this is on your USB if you want to print one out and then laminate it. And I put the obnoxiously bright tassels on it so that I wouldn't lose it. And this gives you, again, and we'll talk about it at Storybook webinar, but it gives you examples of questions to ask to maximize their story retell and their comprehension and just expand their receptive and expressive language in general. Next slide. Okay, now what? So the whole thing with this, you've separated your units into your pocket files. Your frequently used material cards are in your index card boxes or shoebox. You're ready to set up your week. I said, here are some of the tips to help keep your sanity. You're going to want to plan ahead to be prepared. And my big thing with that, it takes preparation to be organized. It was pretty obvious to me when I'd be watching a video of a teacher and it was the first time they had even looked at the lesson. Like if you're having to go like to the lesson and back, to the lesson and back, it's not going to be fluid and have a good flow that helps the kids learn. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to lay your day's materials face down in an order of presentation. So if the first thing you're going to be doing is you're telling which activities are going to happen that day, if you go through that instead of already having them up there, then you would already have those in order and paper clipped together. And I would have that like right next to me. Then the next thing by me would be my story cards already in order. Because again, you've already figured out which story card goes first, second, third, and fourth. And you're going to have the vocabulary cards in the same way. So when you're reading your story and you get to one of your target vocabulary words, you're already going to have those cards in order. So you're not having to be like, hold up, let me go through my 1,000 of cards right here and figure out which one I was going to tell you about. They're already in order of what you're going to target. So that way you've got your story card ready to go. You got the vocabulary cards ready to go. Then next in your line next to you is you're going to have the song card or poem, whatever it is that you're going to be doing next in that day. You're always going to have them lined up. So that way you have that fluidity so the kids can, learn and it sustains their interest. If you aren't having to look for materials, they're going to stay with you because you're going to be excited and ready for each part. So again, and I think this is in the organizational video that's on that teacher resource page where it shows me having everything in a line. So I know exactly where I'm going after I finish. Let's see if there's, and then a cup of materials for planning and writing. I used to keep a cup of dry erase markers, highlighters, like have my chart paper nearby. So if something came up and I needed to write something, I didn't have to hop up and run across the room to go get it. Next slide. This is my questions, which
we actually have a person show up. We have Karen Golden in the room, and
hey,
I can actually
Karen.
Talk. Karen, I give you permission to talk if you have any questions. I did actually get one question though from somebody. They wanted to know, was there a way to be able to do this, some of these materials on like a smart board or like on your computer to free up your hands some more if you're trying to sign? I don't know if there's any of this that would work well with putting it up on the smart board.
I'm not sure about a smart board. Like if you have the USB, it has all of your materials on there. Mm-hmm. And I want to say you should be able to project it.
So maybe project the story.
Yes. I want to say they made it to where the story cards and song cards and different things like that could be projected.
Okay. So
I'll have to double check, but.
So the story cards,
mm-hmm.
the song cards, that could be displayed and talked about.
Definitely. And I will say, I've seen also where I think they used the Clip It, where they would go and like on the pictures, they would clip the different pictures of the story cards and then put them onto a PowerPoint and actually use it on their smart board to sequence the cards. Like they took a picture of the sequence mat and then they had the pictures underneath it in random order. And the kids were able to take the smart pen and like move them to sequence it.
That would be a good
and do a retell.
Okay. Is there somebody else that you know that uses a smart board?
Yes, I want to say that my friend Alexis in Athens.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what she uses.
Okay, so yeah, all the materials are digital. So if they got creative,
right,
stuff could be probably. And I know with the songs are on YouTube. If you're doing
yes, there's the YouTube channel that has all of the songs in ASL, so that we could use those. I'm trying to think what else they've done. Like I know that all the materials are digital. So like again, if you have the time, then you can make the different presentations. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of another example because I know I saw another one. To free up your hands. Yeah, because you could also have, say you're doing the story and you're signing it. If you have the smart board with the pictures up there, you could like have the picture pop up and then have those same target vocabulary cards you've chosen. You could have those pop up as well with that picture. So that way they could just point to it as they sign it.
Okay. Did you have any questions, Karen? I can't see it. Looks like she has it muted. Oh, let me see if I can see my chat box. I don't know how to get to my tools without my.
And again, it's like I know that everybody that will be watching this has already been implementing the curriculum. So the point of these webinars is, I know that you've been doing it. It's just if you happen to have any questions or you're confused once you've gotten into the materials, I'm trying to help just give some tips and hints that I know worked for me in the past to try and help you. Because sometimes it's easier to have these webinars, these trainings after the fact, like after you've been in it. So then you can ask the questions that you have once you've started it. That was really helpful for me with the Wilson training.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I also provided my email address if anybody wants to email and ask questions, comments, give me feedback, or suggestions.
Yes. And we still have the base camp if anybody needs to do anything in the base camp. They can ask questions there, share. And that also we're going to have the coaching if anybody would like to submit a lesson or React to get coaching. So.
I love coaching. That's my favorite thing. So hopefully someone's going to take us up on the coaching. All that involves is, choosing a unit that maybe you want to record some of. And then all I do is look at it and I just give positive feedback, like what looks great, what you could tweak to try and just make it more fluid and better for the kids.
Of course, none of it's shared with your administrator unless you choose to because you had such a great lesson. Well, we thank you very much for doing this today for us, Julie.
Oh yeah, no problem.
This was recorded and we will record the next 3, and I hope other people will join us for the next 3, and we will, even if we get some questions about organization, we can talk about those in the following webinars to help anything we need. So I'm going to go ahead and stop now.
Definitely.